Hi and welcome to the Truth Within weekly reflection for Friday the 23rd of April. So the website is actually a month old. It's been awesome to watch it grow and the feedback has been really positive. And one of the things that was really exciting that happened yesterday was a little video that we created this week around David Icke and Brian Cox talking about the nature of reality. It was actually posted to the official David Icke website, davidicke.com. Now, David Icke, if you don't know who he is, he's known for being a conspiracy theorist or a conspiracy researcher, as he prefers to be called. But he's a lot more than that. David Icke is a deeply spiritual guy who went through his own awakening experience over 30 years ago, which led him on this journey of unraveling truths around society, around our understanding of reality, not dissimilar to the journey that I find myself on with our own platform, The Truth Within. So it was really awesome to see that got posted to his website, because I personally am a huge fan of David's work. And I admire his bravery in coming forward and sharing those experiences, because that has led to a lot of ridicule over his career. One of the points of creating the clip is that it highlighted this convergence between spirit and science. And this is a constantly unraveling journey. Now, through my understanding and from what I've experienced and been a part of through the spiritual healing journey, those experiences show me that our understanding of reality and that our understanding of science is, I won't say incorrect, but incomplete. We see just a small spectrum, and we learn the things that we learn from our peers and from our friends and from our teachers, from institutions and governments, and we begin to build a picture of the reality as we perceive it and as it's presented to us. But that picture is just one facet or a small construct of a larger, ever-expanding reality. So growing up as a child, I had many experiences, and one of the things I was able to perceive very often was what would look like an orb or a ball of light, and it would appear in different areas of my bedroom, and it would move around in a figure of 8 shape or in a circular motion, and it didn't fit any understanding of the world that I had back then. And with that came a lot of fear, the fear of the unknown. And so I used to have these experiences, and I used to find them extremely terrifying. And in communicating those experiences to my family and to my mum, it was always put down to bad dreams or to an overactive imagination. And I myself was unable to confirm them as being real, because at that time there were experiences I'd had as an individual. Now that will change one summer when I was about 8-9 years old, when I was playing in the back garden with a friend of mine, my best friend at the time. We were playing football when all of a sudden, in the corner of my eye, I saw as what I always used to describe as the ghost of a rabbit. It was roughly the same size, it was roughly the same kind of shape, and although it didn't have any distinguishing features, from what I can recall now, it almost felt as if this entity or this spirit was eating away at the grass, just in the manner that a rabbit would. However, it wasn't a rabbit because it was translucent in nature. I remember being able to see through its being and perceive the ground and the grass on the other side. Now for me this was nothing new. I'd had many experiences of this nature, but this time I turned to my best friend and he was staring intensely at the creature. Now was my opportunity to ask, "Do you see what I can see?" To which he replied, "Yes, what the hell is it?" I remember then we both took a step towards it, and as we did so, again without those defining features, I had the sense that this creature, this being, this entity, turned to look at us. We took another step forward, and as we took that second step forward, this creature shot off and passed right through the chain link fence that was dividing my garden to my neighbour's, and with that it was gone. So what that experience taught me was our ideas around reality and around the sciences as we understand them today are perhaps an incomplete picture. Now going back to Brian Cox for a moment, what's interesting about Brian Cox is he was a part of an article that was written by BBC News, and the article was around the ideas of the paranormal. And what the BBC and in particular Brian Cox concluded in that article is that ghosts simply don't exist. Now, interestingly enough, because of the nature of YouTube, because I'd posted that video about David Icke and about Brian Cox, YouTube have been recently suggesting other Brian Cox videos to me. But in a very coincidental and synchronistic way this morning, a video popped up on my YouTube by Brian Cox entitled Professor Brian Cox Explains Why Ghosts Aren't Real. Again, in which he concludes, we know science really well, but no. Meaning, no, they don't exist. He didn't really give much of an explanation, actually, as to why he believes ghosts don't exist. And what was interesting about that clip is the comments had been turned off. And I suspect the comments have been turned off because there perhaps was a little bit of backlash from people who have had their own experiences around the paranormal or spirits or ghosts. And this again highlights the arrogance that we face around science, this idea that the science is settled or that we know all there is to know. And there's a brilliant book that I picked up a few years back called Punk Science, subtitled Inside the Mind of God. And this book's really fascinating because it really breaks down, as I was alluding to in the beginning, about how science has become really good at observing, but there's still so much we don't understand and perhaps will never understand. I'll just read an excerpt from that book. The human race may never truly understand the full workings of the cosmos. All we can do is move from paradigm to paradigm. Each scientific revolution refines and completes the one that came before it, but it requires a total leap in consciousness. Hence, Newton realised that the force that causes the apple to fall is the same one that keeps the planets in orbit. Einstein realised that space and time are not fixed but relative. Heisenberg developed the idea of wave-particle duality. And now, in the early 21st century, we were ready to take another leap. In our era, the situation in science is similar to that of the end of the 19th century. People are yet again announcing that the laws of the universe have been found. There are no further conceptual leaps to be made. All we have left now is to refine what we already know. In the book, The End of Science, John Horgan writes, the great era of scientific discovery is over. Further research may yield no more great revelations or revolutions, but only incremental diminishing returns. The time is right for a change in science, the next big discovery. This revolution will take place consciously at the very heart of an intelligent universe. This movement started to gain momentum in the early 1970s, and every year sees a gathering of pace. So as you can see from the excerpt in that book, science is really on an awakening journey of its own. And as the author described it, it's a shift of paradigm to paradigm. Spirituality is no different. Spirituality and the awakening process is a process, it's a journey. It's a shift from paradigm to paradigm. And I think the one thing that's worth noting here is that spirituality is also played with that same arrogance. If you ever come across a spiritual teacher or guide or guru who pretends to understand the workings of spirituality or the workings of the universe, then that understanding is simply false. Again, that expanded consciousness is an expanded awareness, but is still not the full picture. Only God can really see the full picture, but we can continue to expand our awareness, both spiritually and scientifically. You can find the spirituality in science, and you can find the science in the spirituality. I think one of the biggest challenges we face within our own structure is this idea that science is king. We're very good at looking and at observing this creation, but the understanding of all the mechanisms and all the moving parts of the creation are still very much based in theories. But it's a little bit like looking at a painting from an artist and trying to speculate exactly what the artist was trying to portray. And like some of the best scientists, Tesla, Sagan, Einstein, they all allude to these spiritual ideas. And there's a couple of posts on the website, and I'll read a quote from one of the articles, and this was a quote by Albert Einstein. The intuitive mind is a sacred gift, and the rational mind is a faithful servant. We have created a society that honours the servant and has forgotten the gift. Okay, so that's it for this reflection. Moving forward in the future, we will be switching to a video format, and we will be doing long form podcasts, but the feedback so far has been fantastic, and I think people enjoy those little bite-sized insights into why the content goes up on the website And I guess it just gives a little bit more context as to some of the stories and ideas that you see put up on the site and on the platform. So anyway, that just leaves me to say, keep an open heart and an open mind so that you can be open to perceive and receive all the goodness that the universe is trying to throw at you. And until next week, I shall speak to you soon. Take care and have a good weekend.